Hello, everyone. Um, Welcome to my presentation. My name is Diana Mpindi, and I chose the article Classroom Behavior of Students with or at Risk of Emotional and Behavioral Disorder. Student Gender Affects Teacher Ratings but Not Direct Observations. Written by Amanda Schiffer, Caitlin A. Majeka, Alison Gilmore, Joseph Wehibi. This is the overview of the article. The authors in this article believe that it is relevant to consider gender in perception and treatment of students with EBD in academic settings. Teachers rated female students to be lower in terms of social skills and academic competence in contrast to their male counterparts. Students with EBD displayed poor social skills, academic skills, shortfalls, and high rates of disruptive behavior. The study also shows an improvement of gender-sensitive interventions, as well as reduction of biasness in behavioral assessments. Both females and males revealed levels of reading achievement. The teachers rated female students to be lower in terms of social skills and academic competence, as earlier mentioned. Female students were further highly rated in problem behavior than males. There were no discrepancies in terms of aggression, negative talk, and disengagement during direct observations between males and females. This is what the authors had to say. These are their perspectives. The authors believe that it is relevant to consider gender in perception and in treating students with EBD in academic settings. There's a call for minimized reliance on subjective ratings done by teachers and call for more data-driven approaches to interventions. The authors advocate that gender biases are addressed in academic settings to avoid unbalanced support for students with EBD. The authors also suggest that an understanding of behavioral profiles unique to gender so as to foster development of better effective interventions. The authors also believe that should teachers continue to look at female students harshly, these students could end up getting minimal intervention and assistance. The authors further advocated for training and awareness among teachers so as to recognize and mitigate biases on gender perception of students. And finally, there's a call for tailored interventions on gender differences for better outcomes for those learners with EBD. These are my personal opinions after reading this article. I almost 100% agree that as an educator, I would prioritize understanding all students as uniquely created by God, rather than look at labeling these students, say students with their diverse needs. Yeah, so I am for holistic understanding of students as an educator. Then I would equity and fairness in treatment. I strongly believe that treatment of learners with fairness and equity is very key. I would advocate for fair treatment and intervention support to all the learners, regardless of their gender. I would highly recommend that as educators, we are aware and we train so that we recognize and as well understand biases that could influence our perception and interaction with learners. And lastly, I would also advocate for compassionate interventions tailored to individual needs of students, keeping at the back of the mind that both boys and girls react differently to interventions. This is my personal experience with the topic as an educator. I have already seen circumstances where students exhibit behavioral challenges and they are judged basing on their gender. For instance, males happen to exhibit aggressiveness and tend to receive the direct interventions. And yet girls, on the other hand, when they display emotional distress, they tend to be misunderstood and perceived to be overly sensitive. Now, this clearly aligns with the study findings in this article, and it reinforces the urgent need for especially us, the educators, to fight biasness and advocate for assessment methods that are based on evidence. The implications to practice are firstly, as an educator, I would prioritize understanding of students uniquely created by God rather than looking at labels. Secondly, as teachers, educators, we ought to be trained about biases to guarantee a fair assessment of learners with EBD. Education institutions ought to put in place behavior gender-sensitive intervention strategies. And also teachers also ought to engage with parents of students so as to get clear insights about behavior of their children and how to assist them. And then the current professional development ought to incorporate gender differences in management of classroom with emphasis of how a teacher's bias can affect their ratings of students' behavior. The evaluation shouldn't be limited to subjective teachers only, but incorporation of data tracking, direct observation, among others, to complete one another. And lastly, teachers ought to collaborate with special education staff together with mental health professionals so as to come up with better support plans to learners with emotional and behavioral disorders. I would, these are my references, and I would highly recommend that we read this article for more understanding about how student gender affects teacher ratings. Yeah, I thank you.